Alright, so I want to make another video on this whole question of making Aliyah. And we have to ask ourselves, is this even part of the Jewish mindset to go and make Aliyah? I was watching a video on YouTube. It was from the 700 Club from CBN. You know, that's Pat Robertson's show, a very famous Christian TV show. And it was a whole segment, maybe 6 minutes long, about Jews making Aliyah. You know, it showed this fellow. He was in the army, the American army. And he picks up and he moves to Israel. Became frum, and you know, he moved to Maladafna, and he makes this whole movement to clean up the garbage in Maladafna. I don't know. I lived in Maladafna. I don't remember garbage. I remember it was a beautiful place, and even in Yerushalayim, even the garbage is holy. But yeah, I remember garbage in other neighborhoods, especially when they burn garbage cans or something at a protest or whatever. But still, you know, there was always the whole Yerushalayim was holy, and I have no complaints. Even though some of my friends said, "Why do they have to burn the garbage dumpsters? Why do they have to burn the garbage in protest?" You know, that was one thing I remember a friend of mine was very upset about. But to me, you know, everything in Yerushalayim is holy. But anyway, it was shocking to me. So here's a guy with a velvet yarmulke and a beard, and he's quoting Hatikva. And what is this all about? You're speaking to Christians, quote the Bible. Why are you quoting Hatikva? And you're frum. Why are you quoting Hatikva? I don't understand. You're learning. I assume he's learning in Or Sameach. Maybe, what kind of chinuch is he getting? You know, where? I don't know. Whatever it is. Or why did he put on this whole levush? Does he understand where he is? Why did he go to Or Sameach? Why didn't he go to Mechon Meir or Mosad Arav or somewhere else where maybe he'd fit in better? You know, they're very frum in Mosad Arav. What's you know, so go there. You know. So anyway, you know, why are you making my holy Or Sameach modern? You know, that was. So anyway, and then they were interviewing young kids. That's right, probably like conservative Jews, you know, and they went on Birthright and they got brainwashed to want to go and be in the army. And just like, you know, what's going on here? And I'm home. This kid never thought in his life about what it means to be Jewish, and now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm home. What is your home? Is in whatever, I don't know, Phoenix, Arizona or something. Not to go in some verstinken army. I go home and play video games with your friends in Phoenix. You know, what are you doing? You lost your mind. Like, people, they get brainwashed. It's really a cult, you know. Like, I remember I was talking to someone who escaped a cult, you know, and then and it was an anti-Zionist cult, and I saw that he became a big Zionist. I said, you just traded one cult for another. I was like, the only difference is that your Rebbe didn't kill anyone. Maybe he killed himself. I don't know, but probably not. I don't know, but your Rebbe didn't kill anyone. But Netanyahu has killed how many hundreds of Jews by keeping this Medina around? You know. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You know, but you know, people have to think a little bit. What are they doing? What kind of investment are they making in their lives? You know, when I went to learn in Yerushalayim, I knew I'm going to go learn in yeshiva, and I'm going to come home and go to college and get a job and live in America. I'm not going to go live in Israel. I'm crazy. Why would I do that? Like, what's going through people's minds? So whatever. So, and I was. And back then I was pretty, you know, especially when I left, I was kind of gung-ho Zionist, not pro the state, had this Zionist ideology. I didn't like to use the word Zionist because even then I realized it was a dirty word. But I loved reading Meir Kahana, but I didn't understand why he really thought you should say Hala with a bracha. Like what? That I didn't understand. What? And all right, he had issues he had to deal with, whatever it is. But why would someone pick up and go to some other country that you're American? What do you need to? And it's in a way, to me, it's like an insult to America, even though this guy, he was in the army and he's like, America's great, I love America, but Israel's home. What does that mean? Why is Israel home? Like, where does this ideology come from? And is it a Torah ideology? Now, obviously, the people in the 700 Club, their ideology is connect to their eschatology, which is fine. That's it's a major aspect, particularly evangelical Christian eschatology, is the Jews returning to the Holy Land. Other Christian groups, especially ones that have what they call a replacement theology, as opposed to maybe a grafting on theology, even though none of these are really theology. None of these involve the study of God. These are all just religious ideologies, but they call it theology. So the born again Christian is going to be like, it's part of their eschatology. I understand that, but is it really part of the Jewish eschatology? Do we need to go and get on planes now and settle the Holy Land to fulfill our eschatology? Are we even allowed to do that? Is it part of our ideology? And the answer is absolutely not. Because we're forbidden from trying to actualize our eschatology. And in a way, by doing that, the rabbis saved Judaism. Meaning Judaism survives today because Chazal had the foresight, and I would say it wasn't just on their own, it was a gift from God to not make everything about land and nationalism. Because in that way, Judaism was able to survive. Meaning, where are the Sadducees now? Well, it's sad, you see. They're gone. Not really sad, because we're pretty happy that they're gone, but for them it's sad, you see. Why are they gone? Because their whole religion was the temple. No temple, no Sadducee religion. It was the whole. So, whereas we had Chachamim like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who had the foresight to save Judaism by saying, "Tein li Yavna v'chachameha," give me Jabna and her sages, and we can keep Judaism alive without the temple, without the sacrifices, without the land. We can keep Judaism alive. And wait patiently for God to send a Messiah. And then they thought they had the Messiah. Look at Bar Kochba. What happened? Rav Hirsch writes that why were they Masakin a Teva Meitiv? I remember one rather famous speaker from Baltimore. He said, that the Chazal, after the mice of Beitar, they were Masakin a Teva Meitiv. And he said, when do we say a Teva Meitiv? It's when we drink a cup of wine, and it's true. But the thing is, that's not what it means when it says the Chazal were Masakin a Teva Meitiv. But it means there that after the Maisa of how the Haruge Beitar were Nitin L'Kvura, that the victims of the massacres in Beitar were allowed to bury their dead. And the thing was a miracle happened that none of them rotted, none of them decomposed. And it was, I think, a number of years. So that's talking about not the bracha HaTorah V'Meitiv that we skeptical. Why? Because that's how we survive. We don't, if you're worried about Jewish survival, healthy skepticism is a major key. Because what happened after Shabtai Tzvi? There were people who they were all ready to pack up all their stuff and go to the Holy Land because the Messiah was here. And then what happened? Forget about all the other horrible things about Shabtai Tzvi, but how people's lives were ruined because they couldn't go back home. They didn't have where to go back to. And that led to people not trusting the rabbis as much because some of the rabbis followed this, some rabbis encouraged this. And also led to people, it led to the rabbis de-emphasizing Kabbalah, which in a certain sense is perhaps healthy, but then again, you have to find a balance. You can't totally throw out the baby with the bathwater. So this healthy skepticism is what saves us, and also the portability of Judaism saves us. Because what's going to happen? Put all your eggs in one basket. You all go to Jerusalem. You all go to Israel, and this experiment doesn't work. What's going to happen then? What if, God forbid, Chas v'Shalom, if Iran attacks in the Holy Land, and what if a miracle doesn't happen? Ein Simchan al Nes. How do we know Mashiach? How do we know it's Mashiach's time? All right, if it's Mashiach's time, then it'll be relative event. But what if it isn't? And let's look at how many Jews have been killed since 1948. If this is their great redemption, so why all the bloodshed? Oh, it's the birth pangs of Messiah. It's the Chevle Mashiach. You don't need such a painful birth pangs. Take an epidural. Go sit and live in America. Wait for Mashiach to come. There's no reason to get up and go somewhere else until you can't be in America anymore. And who's to say after we leave America, we're going to go to Israel? Maybe we're going to go to China next and pick up holy sparks there. Now there's not that many Jews in China. But there are some, and there have been historically. I'm assuming the Mir Yeshiva took all the Nitzaitis Kedusha of China. We don't have to go there, and I'm hoping that the next stop will be Mashiach, but we don't know. We have to have healthy skepticism. Ein ben David ba ela behesach hadas. If you sit there, a watch pot never boils. You're sitting there watching the pot, waiting for it to boil, waiting for Mashiach to come. Where is he already? And you're expecting, this is the time. Look, this year we can interpret, it says in the Rivash like this and like that. This is the year Mashiach's going to come. How do you know? Didn't they say that about other years? Oh, but the Vilna Gaon also says like, how do you know it's this year? How do you... Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they were right, but we're not zeicher. Maybe we entered into a different realm, into a different dimension, and maybe in another dimensional plane they were right, but in this dimensional plane they're not right. Who knows? There's all kinds of things you could say. We don't know. We hope, but the main eschatological beliefs that we have to have, more or less dogmatically, even that is not so simple, but we accept it as standard, is that we are waiting for Mashiach, and eventually at some point there'll be Tchias HaMeisim. Beyond that, we don't know anything. And for the most part, most of these things are parables. How do we know? There's think about this way. The other thing, the Medrash says that when Mashiach comes, Yerushalayim will be as big as Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael will be as big as the whole world. So what does that mean? Does that mean that physically we won't have to go anywhere when Mashiach comes? It's possible. I'm not saying necessarily that that's what it is, but it's just as possible that when Mashiach comes, we're going to physically live in the same exact places we live right now. Let's say Mashiach comes tomorrow or today. Let's say Mashiach comes, and then what? So Mashiach comes, and he says, so now Yerushalayim is as big as Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael is as big as the whole world. What does that mean? Does that mean that the whole world is going to get as big as Jupiter? No. It means, probably would be more like, Neptune, whatever. No, that's not what it means. It means the whole world is going to be Eretz Yisrael. If we take that medrash literally, of course that might, it means that, so here in New York, we'll be taking Trumas and Maasros. We'll be keeping Shemitah. That's what it means. What does it mean, Eretz Yisrael? Does it Mishnah? Forget about Midrashim. What does the Halacha say? What does the Mishnah say? It says, Eretz Yisrael Kadosh Mikol Aratzos Mai Kedush Tzad Some V'in Shtei Alechem Ha'omer V'Shtei Alechem. That the holiness of Eretz Yisrael is the mitzvah Tliyas Ba'aretz, and that's it. It's a halachic concept. It's not a magic hocus pocus thing. Yeah, of course. When I was in Eretz Yisrael, you feel holiness there. You feel something special. But Nachman Breslover says that the kever of the Baal Shem Tov in Mezhrish has the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. That doesn't mean that in Mezhrish you take Trumas and Maasros. I remember Maggid Shir I had in high school, Moshe Weinberger. He said, you go to the sea and you feel like you're in Eretz Yisrael. And I can say that. You go to the Lubavitch Rebbe sea, and you go to the Satmarov sea, and you go to Lezhensk, you go to Uman. I remember I had a very intense spiritual experience in Shpetivka by Reb Pinchas Koritzer. All of this is very nice, but it also has to be techbats. You have to put into chayfetz. It's meaning you have all this inspiration, everything. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's poetic, it's so sweet, and it makes our life interesting. But still, sof kol sof, you have to follow halacha. You can't lose your brain. And you wind up, you go to Eretz Yisrael, and you have to not keep halacha. You have to find, kulas. You have to say, it's too hard to keep. I know. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, "Galus b'lo'olam al shmitas aretz," and I know. Baharam chukaisais az tirza es shabsiseha. Then the land's going to rest, and that's why we have to go into Galus, because we didn't keep Shemitah properly. So we have to go into Galus. I know. But that's just a gadata, right? But all the nice stuff about Israel, that's so beautiful. That's not a gadata. Of course, that's a gadata. But the Chumash tells us that the Bible says in Leviticus, then the land is going to rest from its Sabbaths, that the sabbatical years we didn't keep. That's why we're exiled, because we didn't keep a sabbatical, and instead of all this stuff about sinas chinam and this and that, which is important. I'm not saying, but that's not all there is. Shemitah is an important thing. All right, but and there's so many different shitas and everything, and but we it's not tenable for us to settle the Holy Land without a heter mechira, says Rabbi Cook. Okay, so why do you have to settle the Holy Land? Why can't you go to America or Canada or somewhere else? All right, so you have to leave Europe. opposite to America. Well, why not? Well, because the Zionists pressured the governments not to let Jews in because they wanted to have their Medina, and if Jews would start, leaving Europe and going to America, it would kind of get in the way. So we gotta push that the Jews should only be sent to Palestine and nowhere else. What? I mean, that's what happened. That's history. So we have to ask ourselves, so why should we go there? So what is this all about? And it comes down, when you think about it, it's just Zionism. And and people are so emotional about it, and I'm sure a lot of people are fuming when they hear me say this, but it's not seichel, it's just all emotion. Meaning, when you have a Beis HaMikdash and so forth, then you have a chiyuv to go live in Eretz Yisrael or whatever. But we don't have a Beis HaMikdash now. We don't have, these things don't apply. Learn what the Rishonim say. Meaning, when it comes to other things that are not connected to Zionism, people, the liberal Orthodox, will say, well, let's see what the different Rishonim say. Maybe this isn't being taken literally. So what about Zionism? Why don't we honestly look and compare what the Rishonim say, what they did, and so forth, and how they conduct themselves? I mean, and everyone says, well, look, the Ramban and the Yehuda Levi, they all picked up and went to Eretz Yisrael, but they didn't take it over. Forget that part. They weren't going and conquering the land. They were loyal citizens of whatever, Arab country was ruling there. They didn't insist on autonomy or independence. They went, and there aren't just reasons for that. And did they go for their eschatology? Usually not. Some of them did. There were rabbanim, meaning that this is something we have to think about. Meaning, are you going to Eretz Yisrael now because you think it has something to do with Mashiach coming? If so, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And let's see, what do other Sfarim say about Mashiach coming? What does the Chesed Avram say? It's only going to be a few thousand Jews in Eretz Yisrael when Mashiach comes. Alright, we don't take that literally, meaning, all these people, maybe since they're not from, they're not Jewish, or this, meaning, what does it mean? What does it mean? How do, the Samarov would cry and tremble when he saw this Chesed Avram. Think about what's going to be. I mean, hopefully they're going to be peacefully relocated if that's the case. If that is literal, I'm not saying it is. It might be, it might not be. But the point is that it's not part of our eschatology, and it's not prerequisite to our eschatology. And thinking it is kfira. And I remember, this is not what Meir Kahana taught, but I remember one of his students on TV at a public access TV show, and he said, well, how the hell is Mashiach supposed to come if we don't settle the land? Well, God can do anything. God can pick us up and poof. Or like we said, he can make this place Eretz Yisrael. What are you talking about? You have to pick up and go to another country. You have to be here and be a light unto the nations. It says, like all Yisrael, the only reason we were exiled throughout the whole world is so we should convert people to Judaism. That's just a god. That's not, or it's talking about mitzvahs. It's not talking about people because we don't proselytize and this and that. There's all these answers that people give. Well, even if it's talking about mitzvahs, like the Sfarim Kedeshim say that El Ketei L'Steif Faleim Kerem is talking about deny the whole world of this beautiful gift that Kosh Baruch Hu gave us. It was never intended to be kept for us and not given to anyone else. The whole thing is they didn't want it, meaning it was supposed to be offered to them, and we can, and maybe now they'll want it, and so how? The only thing is they can't go about on their own. Now they have to go through us to get there. But that's what it's all about. I mean, and you know, the thing is with these Gerim, it's a question. Today, let's type of flame Gerim. You want to add on Gerim. Well, the question is, some of these Gerim, they just want to make Aliyah. You know, no, it's not your job to go to convert just so you make Aliyah. That could be Mishum Davar Acher. That could be an ulterior motive. It doesn't possibly Gerim, but it's a good reason not to hire someone. I never refused to hire someone just because I knew that they wanted to make Aliyah, and some of my Gerim did make Aliyah. I don't encourage it, and maybe that's why they don't talk to me anymore. I don't know. But you know, it's a question, you know. But if I would go and help people to be Megayer, I would want them to make their place a Makom Torah. You know? Make the whole world a beautiful gem. So what are we talking about here? What's going on here? Why do people want to, you know, why do you have these starry-eyed kids who want to go join the Israeli army? Like, you have, I don't know if I said this in this video, there was another video I was making that got cut off. You know, you have these kids who went on birthright, and they're like, you know, I saw this on the 700 Club, I think it was other video that got cut off. You know, first of all, you see this guy who's in the American army, and he becomes frum, and he decides he's going to go move to Maladafna, he's learning on Sameach, whatever, and he's like, you know, America's great, but Israel is home. And then you see these kids who went on birthright and they got brainwashed, and you know, a 20-year-old kid, and he's like, oh, I gotta go join the Israeli army. Like, what the hell? Why do you have to go join the Israeli army? Go to college, you know, wherever you come from. You're from Phoenix, Arizona, go finish college. When you have some free time, play video games with your friends. You want to do something for Klal Yisrael, so you just keep Shabbos and put tefillin. You don't have to get up and join some army. Are you crazy? Do you lose your mind? Like, seriously, think about it. Like, what's life all about? Like, what is it, just to go die in some war? And, you know, it's one thing if you're in the American army and defending the Constitution and these great and lofty ideals that America stands for. But when you go in the Israeli army, you're not defending the Jewish people. You're not defending the Torah. It's not like, you know, Parshas, Kiseitze, Parshas Shoftim, whatever, and Meshuach Milchama, and all these things. That's not what it was. The army with the boys and girls together, and, you know, like Victor Miller writes in one of his books, he said, you know, you know, how these girls in the army, they lose their virginity when they go in the army, and him. He was one of my Goyish Ages because my father's family, his father's family, comes from Poland. So maybe although my father's some of his family was Jewish going back from Poland also, whatever. But maybe some of the ancestry was maybe one of the shidduchim that would make was doing. More than that, so in the Sefer that I saw, the Hasidim would say that this was making tremendous tikkunim, and they said it's similar to how Yaakov Avinu fulfilled the tikkun of the mitzvah of tefillin, with the whole story with the nekudim batudim, with the different sheep, the speckled sheep, and this and that, and the striped sheep, and all the sheep that Jacob, with Laban, and he put the sticks and all this stuff. That represents some Indian with the mitzvah of tefillin, that Yaakov Avinu made the tikkun, that he fulfilled the mitzvah of tefillin when he was involved in this ma'aseh. And so, so you see, the Hasidim didn't take these things literally. I mean, I saw a video on YouTube just now where they're making fun of B'nai Torah or whatever, but they were saying, like, Yaakov Avinu, why did he give Esav lechem v'dashim? Why did he give him? He just asked for the lentil soup. So why did he give him bread also? And he said, well, because it's a suffix, what bracha you make on the zidadashim. It's a question, what blessing do you say on lentil soup? And so, in order to avoid the suffix brachas, he gave him bread so he should wash. So it's a nice word, but it's not meant to be taken literally. It's a little lumdish of word. It's cute. It's nice, but obviously it's not. It's not pshat, but people think it's pshat, and then they said all these things, so then they had all these kashas on this. They said, why did if Yaakov Avinu fulfilled the mitzvah of all right, so Yaakov Avinu did he remember the ma'aseh of Amalek even before it happened? And he said, yeah, because he knew with Ruach HaKodesh, he was a Navi, he knew the future, and so even it didn't happen yet, he knew the future. So the question was, if that's the case, and he said even Ad Kedei Kach, he didn't, the Yaakov, he was Mesuvik, he says Zecher, when you learn Zachor, so he says Zecher, and there's a whole vart about that. And then so he said, no, spare me that. So then what he said was, he said, so why didn't, so if Yaakov Avinu fulfilled the mitzvah of Ksiva Sefer Torah, why didn't he just read it in the Chumash what it said? Did he forget what he wrote about, that Yosef was still alive and all these things? So obviously it means something deeper. And so then he said, there are Rishonim who hold that the Avos didn't keep Kol HaTorah Kula before the Torah was given, and they said, did they go to YU? I don't know, but the thing is that even the Hasidim didn't believe that the Avos kept the Torah the way we keep the Torah today. Like he said, did Yaakov Avinu wear Crocs on Tisha B'Av? He said, no, of course not, because Yashav Paskin, that Crocs are too comfortable, so you can't wear them on Tisha B'Av. Hasidic Sfarim are all about how to explain Agaditas and things, not literally, how to explain them figuratively and so forth. That's the Sifrei Musar about all kinds of things. So when Mashiach comes, we know, for example, when it says that the wolf will lay down with the lamb, and yes, it says the wolf, it doesn't say the lion will lay down with the lamb. Despite what some people with the Mandela theory want to claim that, everybody knows it's a lion and a lamb, but look at all our Bibles got changed to say the wolf and the lamb. I remember a restaurant in Queens. I never went in there. It was a fancy restaurant. I couldn't afford it. But I remember seeing the sign on it, and I think it was called Wolf and Lamb or something like that. And I think Shmuley Boteach's first book was The Wolf and the Lamb, no? Right? So did they change that too? Did they change my memories? I always remember being Wolf and Lamb. Although the Mandela effect, maybe I had a Mandela effect about the Berach Moshe. I remember when the Berach Moshe was nifter, on the same day he had his first year Einik. Or ear Einik. He had his first great-great-grandchild on the day he passed away. And I remember even writing. I was like, didn't that happen a few weeks ago? And so maybe that was a little Mandela effect that I had. I don't know. But anyway, the point I want to make here. Have to be literally either. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. But still, we don't live an eschatological life. All those people's lives got ruined when they went to follow Shabtai Tzvi. Did I say this in this video? I don't remember either. Hatova Meitiv, Rav Hirsch writes in the fourth bracha of benching that the Chazal were instituted is to teach us never to follow a false Messiah again. Just wait patiently till it happens. You read Yirmiyahu Hanavi, and you see how he's dealing with these false prophets who are saying we're going to go back. And Yirmiyahu was like, no, build houses here, live a normal life. Don't go crazy, don't lose your mind, you're going to regret it. The Hiloi Sitzlach, like Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Mapilim. And that's what we're seeing now. And like I said, most people within 5 years after making Aliyah, they go back home, but they go back home penniless and then when they get back home, they lost all of their connections, they lost all their friends, they have no way of building their lives back up, and their lives were ruined. And you got to be practical. You got, today I was talking to someone, about something, and I said, I apologize that I brought up some things with money. And then they said, no, you got to think about your future, you got to think about your family, And it's true, you got to think about your family, you got to think about your future, you got to think about living a life, And part of that is just being normal, like the story, there was a German, he wanted to wear tefillin all day. So he asked, he said, no, you're not holding there. So he said, you're all telling me this because you don't wear tefillin all day. I'm going to go to Rav Scheinberg, and I'm going to ask him. And Rav Scheinberg by his house and shook him and he said, just be normal. It's true. It's so important to be normal, and it's something Bali Tshuva and Gerim have to learn. It's something people who get excited, even they're born from, and they get excited about Yiddishkeit, they have to learn. It's so important to be normal. I remember I mentioned this to Shidlovtzer Rebbe, and he had in his chotzer a younger man who grew up modern, and he became Hasidish, and he became a chassid there in Shidlovtzer. And he was bragging to me. He's so normal. He had such nachas. The Rebbe had this younger man. I didn't know him, whatever. He said he's so normal. You know why? Because this Rebbe grew up in Bobov. In Bobov, that's a big thing to be normal. And at least it used to be. I don't know. I think it still is. You know, and it just got to be normal. You know, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. You know, I'm very happy my kids go to soccer, but if I lived in Brooklyn, I would probably send to Bobov so they could have. My girls are getting a good education, but the boys would get a better secular education. Even they want to be Rabbanim, should have a secular education, know how to speak, know how to write, know how to communicate. You know. But the only thing is, I don't think the government should be imposing it. If people want to raise their kids different, that should be. So it's a slippery slope, because I mean, I see now in Canada there's two OTD dropouts who were suing the Canadian government because they let they dropped out from Tush, and they said, how did they let the Tusher Hasidim not full English and French or whatever that the secular schools give, and they feel they were robbed. But it's interesting because in Detroit now, in America, which is not far from Canada, in Detroit, there's a lawsuit coming up because a lot of the kids in the public schools are illiterate, and then the state of Michigan is arguing that there's no right to literacy. And it's true. There's no right to literacy. It's not, and there's no right to an education. And here these are public schools that are being funded by the public. What, you're going to impose on the private schools that they have to do something, you know? So meaning the answer would be there is no right to literacy, but if the public schools are taking all our money, and they take so much money and they're not doing anything, that's a problem. Private schools are not taking anybody's money, so let them do what they want. You know, it's a free country. All right, it is what it is. You know. What kind of answer can we give? What, you know? Whatever. It's not easy. It's not easy, but you know, I support the goals of, like I talked about Yafet. I support their goals, but I don't support their means. You know, they say that Meir Kahana, a lot of Rabbanim would say, I like your goals, but I don't like your means. And he didn't like that, but then he said, well, Abby Hoffman told him, that the radical told him, I hate your goals, but I love your means, you know. That's what he told Meir Kahana. And he said he liked that. I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me. But, what's it all about? What are we talking about here? With Yafet, I agree with their goals, but I don't like their means. Meaning, if you want for this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think it's better, to learn it and to have an answer also. Meaning, to have something that's going to explain to you, why why do we believe what we believe? Maybe people don't even know themselves. Or what do we believe exactly? Is it okay to believe this? Or is it, are there a few options? Meaning, can you be an Orthodox Jew and believe that the world is millions of years old and even that God used evolution and so forth? I would say you would not be a heretic for doing so. You might be wrong, but you probably would not be a heretic because you're understanding it in a non-literal way and so forth. I read a great article today. It was a brief article, but I remember a similar article some years back. Was why do atheists insist on reading the Bible in a fundamentalist way? Meaning, the answer is that they're saying that she told someone, but I know recently some atheist organization, Freedom from Religion or American Atheists or something, they protested that why does Vice President Pence and other cabinet members have a Bible study every week together, and they're doing it on our dime. It's during excuse me, they're like keep it in church, don't do it during work time and this and that. And then they said, and if there's any book that they shouldn't be reading, it's this horrible book that's filled with all kinds of horrible, sick things. I don't have to mention all the nonsense that they argue against the Bible. And and it's like, if any book should be banned, this is the book because it's filled with all these horrible, violent, blah 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 blah. Remember there was a South Park episode where they were upset at the priest. They found he was doing something corrupt, and they all became atheists. And they're sitting around talking about how they're atheists. And meanwhile, Cartman, he told his friends that it's healthier to eat backwards. I'm not going to explain more. And while they're spewing all this nonsense about atheism, if you saw that episode, you know what I'm saying. And if you didn't, you shouldn't. And Baruch Hashem, I haven't seen South Park in many, many years. But the point is that it's true what they're saying there, meaning this is garbage. Just shut up already. Like, seriously, is this really what you're talking about? Is this really what you're worried about? Like, does it really make a difference in your life? Seriously? Really? I mean, it's the same thing with religion, but at least, we believe that talking about our religion is a mitzvah. It's a way of connecting to God, so learning Torah is a mitzvah. So then it's a mitzvah, but to stop to, what are you gaining? Why even bring this up? What meaning if it goes back to Pascal's wager, like if you believe in God and he's not real, you didn't lose anything. But if you don't believe in God and he is real, then you lost big, So it's the same thing. It's like Pascal's wager, like it's better just to believe in God. So, because either way, you don't lose if he's not real, and you don't lose if he is real. But if God is real, and you don't believe, then you only have what to lose. It's a lose-lose situation not believing. The question is then, well, what God do you believe in, and how do you believe in, and this and that. And so the atheists will say, well, you Christians don't believe in Zeus, and you Jews don't believe in Mercury, and this and that, and you Muslims don't believe. So I'm just treating your God the same way you treat the other gods. The answer is, though, when you compare the various religions, the biblical account of creation compared to the creation myths of other religions, the biblical account of creation is almost the same as the geological account of creation. Look at Rabbi Hertz's appendix to the Book of Genesis, and they said the protozoans begot the multicellular animals, and the multicellular animals begot the tube worms, and the tube worms begot the segmented worms, and the segmented worms begot the jawless fish, and the jawless fish begot the jawed fish, and the jawed fish begot the amphibians begot the reptiles, and so on and so forth. He's quoting from somewhere else, but the point is that if you compare the creation myths of all the other religions, and you look at our quote-unquote creation myth, you could definitely you could definitely interpret it to fit into a more scientific standpoint, and then also, to me, the natural revelation, to me, is a very strong argument, and then furthermore is the morality. To some friends of mine, that's the first issue. So, we got all these things to talk about. All right, we're just about at an hour, so I think I talked long enough. Maybe I should listen to someone else talk. So anyway, maybe you want to make Aliyah. I don't know. I can't stop you. Do whatever you want. I don't care. But it is what it is. But I think we're better off being a light unto the nations, where we are, doing what we're supposed to be doing, fulfilling God's purpose and why He sent us here. God didn't have us born in Israel for a reason, and even put the desire into Israelis to leave. Why are all these Israelis leaving? Why are they selling tchotchkes in the kiosks in the mall? Because there's something wrong with Israel. It's true. I mean, it's a messed up, ridiculous country. I mean, my Rosh Hashiva, he said, this is a third world banana republic. This is not, I don't know, I understand he has a job there. He's teaching Torah. He's doing something, but he has a reason to be there. But if we don't have a reason to be there, what are we accomplishing? There's so many people who could accomplish so much more if they would have stayed in Kutzlar. It's like my friend Ian I told you about. And it's interesting how here he is, the anti-Zionists in Israel, and another friend of ours who was in Yerushalayim at the same time, who is a gung-ho Zionist, and he's so proud that he's a Zionist, and he's in America, and he's doing something. He's not just sitting and learning, Of course, sitting and learning is a valuable thing, and it's important. And I also like to sit and learn, but that can't be the whole life, Learn Medrash Eikra La Maisa, and like I said from Rebbe Zisha, the holy Rebbe Zisha, he said that it says Azei Panim L'Gehenim versus Panim L'Gan Eden, that the brazen-faced people go to hell, and the humble-faced people go to heaven. But it doesn't say go to, it just says there, to heaven, to hell, to heaven. So what does that mean? It means like this. It means if the position says like this, because we see right before this is heavy azul number. It says you should have azus. So why do you say heavy Yazlanam Kadamer, be brazen like a leopard, and then it says the brazen go to hell. So the Rebbe Zisha says like this. He says, if you have Aziz to Kedusha, if you have holy arrogance, you can even go to the very depths of hell. But Sia Sha'ol Hineka, go down to hell and you are there. Meaning, you could go on a college campus and Oftim for Yiddishkeit, you could do Kiruv, you could go to the most hellish places and make them heavenly. Bring Torah there, bring the light of Torah there. If you have Aziz and Kedusha, you could go work in a prison, you could go work in a, all these horrible places, a college, or whatever it is, an Oftim, some of these modern schools, and we could Oftim for Yiddishkeit, but if you're a boishes panim, if you're a humbled face, if you're a meek person, so then you got to stay in heaven. Then you got to stay in the Bismadrash and sit and learn all day, because you can't operate outside the Bismadrash. So this guy in Yerushalayim, I talked about in another video, he has tremendous Aziz to Kedusha. He's a big Aziz panim, and he belongs on the college campuses. Oftim for Yiddishkeit. He needs to be a Rav somewhere, and go and speak and do things, and not just sit and learn. And he's so proud. He's been sitting and learning for the past, 17 years of advice, and it's a valuable thing, but there's a limit. You can't do this your whole life, and so now all the connections he had, Brandeis and all, and his work with the lobbying and this and that, it's all gone. They don't remember him. If he would have stayed with what he's doing, he would be one of these people who's doing something. I remember one of my Magidei Shir. He said to me, that when the Stam or Shiva, even as a big gadol, when he leaves this world, he doesn't cry so much. He cries for a day or two, so quote unquote. But he says when someone who does things for Yiddishkeit, someone like Meir Kahana or some other people, some more controversial, maybe I wouldn't mention, when they leave this world, and they were doing so much and all this potential, then that's a real loss, So, but I think it's a bigger loss when we're labeled the assignment from these people, like we had the opportunity. These people are still alive, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and they have so much potential, and they're young, and they have what to do, and they're wasting it. Maybe I'm wasting it too, I don't know, but at least I'm putting on YouTube for the 33 people who watch the videos, or maybe the same person watches it 30 times, and maybe, I don't know, I'll hit the lottery, and more people watch these videos, alright. Well, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. If you want to call me or email me, folks know how to do that as well. for me.